So I'm 2 weeks off the back of a meditation retreat with Joe Dispenza. If you don't know who Joe Dispenza is, he's someone, I think he's 60 now, so a few decades ago, he had a serious cycling accident and broke his back in several places. He refused surgery and he used intention and the power of his mind to heal his broken back. So now his work is all about the power of our minds to heal our bodies. He talks a lot about neuroscience, but he also moves into the realms of spirituality and mystical experiences. And he's trying to bring science and spirituality together. And so in this week-long retreat, so it's pretty trippy. I had some pretty trippy experiences. A lot of people go on these retreats to heal themselves. And so there are a lot of people there who look visibly very unwell. And they have these healing sessions, which you're all part of. And then you're seeing these incredible things. And it feels like magic. And it feels like miracles exist and do happen. And then you leave the retreat and you come back to your real life and you're back in the familiar and everything looks the same and you're just reminded of who you are. And that just feels like a dream now. And my analytical mind wants to go, you were just being suggestible. Like his whole thing is the placebo effect. You're getting swept along in something that isn't real. And I have landed on, I don't need to figure out what was real and what wasn't real, because there were some very profound personal experiences that I've had that have had such an impact on me since I came home. I have a lot going on in my life at the moment, things outside of my control that are extremely challenging and generally difficult, and I've never felt more grounded. And there was a realization and a little technique that I tried on this retreat that's changed everything. And I've come back and it's been just as powerful in my everyday life. So that's what I want to share with you today. And it's not actually a Joe Dispenza technique. Each day on the retreat, we start at 6 a.m. in the morning. And there's 1,600 people on this retreat. So we're in this massive ballroom and we come in at 6 a.m. and we always start off with a meditation. And the meditations tend to be an hour and a quarter or an hour and a half long. But on the penultimate day, we start at 4 a.m. instead of 6 a.m. And this meditation is usually 4 to 4.5 hours long. And the intention behind this meditation is to attempt to induce a mystical experience, probably the kind of experiences that people have on psychedelics, but the idea is you do it through these meditative techniques. So I had been dealing with some pain on and off all week, and it's a pain that can be quite overwhelming all down my side. I know what it is. You don't need to worry about me. I've actually been to hospital since I've been back and it's all sorted out. Everything is fine. But when I get up for this 4 a.m. meditation, the pain is there. And I've got this fanciful idea in my head, because this retreat is all about healing yourself, I decide not to take painkillers because I'm thinking, no, my mind should be able to heal this. And so I'm sitting in the meditation and it's just pain, it's pain. And I know that I'm going to be there for hours. So of course, my mind wants to start panicking. So now I want to rewind you to the night before. So the night before this meditation, I'm sitting in the bath watching YouTube, and this video comes up and it's this woman talking about how she nearly died or died and came back. And in her near-death experience, she came back with this message of how she needed to approach life. And the message was simply breathe and don't resist. And when I first heard that, I was like, that's it. You die, you get a glimpse of the other side, and you come back with all you have to do in life is breathe and don't resist. Okay, didn't really think anything of it, went to bed. But in that meditation, when this pain started, those words came back to me, I remembered them. And so I just started on the inhale saying breathe, and on the exhale, don't resist. And I was probably doing this maybe 6 times a minute. I'd sometimes have a bit of a break, but I kept coming back to it. And every time I came back to it and I was not resisting, I was experiencing peace. And you've probably heard that saying that pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. I'm not keen on the word optional because I don't think it really quite, I understand the message of it. I'm not too keen on the language. But what happened was I was able to be in that meditation experience for what turned into 5.5 hours he did it for, and this time it was the longest one he's ever done, 5.5 hour meditation in significant pain, and I didn't suffer. Because what my mind wanted to do, my mind wanted to start panicking. I'm going to be here hours. Maybe I should leave. Maybe I should just go up to my room. What's the point in staying in this meditation, trying to have a mystical experience when you're in pain? This pain is going to stop you from having one. And also there's something that I'm aware of in myself, which is one of my own patterns. I'm somebody who can tumble into self-pity very quickly, especially if I'm unwell or I'm in pain. And there's no judgment in that. I'm just saying that's a reality. I know I have that pattern and I know it doesn't serve me. Again, it's not a moral thing. It's not a failing, but it's something that I don't enjoy about myself. And I know it definitely holds me back from experiencing peace, groundedness, connection, and even just feeling regulated in myself. But by staying with this breathe and don't resist, the self-pity never came. And it brought me so much into the moment. And I even played around with it during the meditation. I tried breathe, and then I'd say surrender, or breathe and let go. And they didn't, quote unquote, work. It kind of went against my thinking a bit, because my thinking, especially kind of in my understanding of psychology, is we don't focus on a don't. We don't focus on don't resist, for example. We should focus on surrender or let go or accept. Focus on the active rather than the passive. But for whatever reason, those were the only words that worked. And I think as well, it's a somatic technique. Because if you say the word breathe on the inhale, that brings you into the moment, because your breath only exists in the moment. When we feel stressed or we feel those contracting emotions, our body tenses and our breath becomes more shallow. So by bringing our attention to our breath naturally deepens. And then we're saying the word don't resist on the exhale when our body is releasing. There is a softening that happens on the exhale naturally. So your intention and your body is moving into alignment. When I was doing it, it was bringing me so into the present, and I was moving closer to the pain. So again, if you're anything like me, if you're in physical pain or discomfort, there's a contraction and I want to mentally pull away. I'm trying to do this against the pain. And of course, it's not possible. So I'm in the conflict and the pain. I'm mentally suffering and I'm physically in pain. But with the softening in, I kept moving my attention right into the pain, that leaning towards, which is part of the non-resistance. And I'm curious, I'm like, what is pain? Anyway, what is this? And the more I kind of pushed my awareness into the pain, it was still there, but it changed form. My body was able to relax, and it was okay for the pain to be there. And another thing Joe Dispenza talks about is part of the goal being to be able to get beyond yourself and to get beyond your usual programming. And I felt like that's what I did in this meditation. And then even, in fact, it would have been the same day, on the last evening, we went out for a Mexican meal. And the Mexican restaurant, it was really hot. And we sat down, we'd ordered drinks, and I was so thirsty. And because it was so busy, the drinks were taking a long time. And I felt myself sort of tensing up, like, I'm thirsty and I want my drinks, and the drinks shouldn't be taking so long. And then the minute I realized what I was doing, I just went, breathe and don't resist. And then it was fine. I could ask how long the drinks are going to be if I want to. It doesn't mean that you don't take action. It doesn't mean that you're passive. It means that the conflict, the contraction, the resistance, the tightening is not resisting what is actually happening. You can still take action, but the action doesn't come from a resistant or conflicted place. And for me, the message of this is about not turning life into a battle. And then last weekend, I actually ended up presenting myself at A&E with the pain. And again, I'm just breathing, don't resist, breathe, don't resist. And I had to go back to hospital for a procedure, and a procedure that should have been simple took 4 doctors and 4 hours to do. And the doctors are flustered and apologetic because I'm breathing and not resisting. I'm doing this technique in my mind. Yes, it's uncomfortable. It didn't make the pain vanish, but I ended up being the ones reassuring the doctors, because they were getting stressed. So at the moment, whenever I notice that I'm in some kind of stress, and it's when I notice, it's not that I haven't been stressed at all since I've been back. Whenever I do this, I can feel that relief. So whether it is traffic, whether it's physical pain, whether it's emotions. I had some news the other day and I was feeling really disappointed because it didn't happen the way I wanted it to happen. And so the breathe and don't resist was not about avoiding the emotion, but it changed the contraction of the emotion. And it's like, yeah, breathe and don't resist. I'm feeling disappointed. Breathe and don't resist. This situation didn't unfold the way you hoped. I think the biggest challenge with a technique like this, because nothing is like the magic bullet, but the biggest challenge with such a technique is the willingness. Because sometimes we want to resist. Sometimes we don't want to let go. But maybe even as I said that, like we don't want to let go, we don't want to accept, maybe that's why it's easier to say don't resist rather than I accept this thing that's painful or something that I just don't want to be the way it is right now. But it's recognizing that the resistance itself is futile and it only causes us pain. There's an Eckhart Tolle quote that I love, and it came into my head during that 5.5-hour meditation as well. He says, accept this moment as if you had chosen it. Always work with life, not against it. And doing so will change your life. Now, I've loved that quote for years, and I've absolutely had glimpses of it. I have. But at the moment, and again, I'm very aware. I'm 2 weeks off the back of a retreat, and I know myself that it can be easy to get very excited about something and go, I've found the answer. And ultimately, it's a tool. It's a tool that I am delighted to have come across. And like I said, I heard it on the YouTube video. I'll link to it at the end just in case anybody wants to watch the YouTube video. The bit about pairing it with the breath and how I understand how it might work somatically was kind of from my own experience. But the words, I don't want to take credit for them because they were from another YouTube video that I watched. And just thinking now, maybe another reason why saying breathe and accept doesn't work as well is because acceptance feels like you are accepting the future. Acceptance kind of has this forward thinking. The brain wants to go forward and think, what does it mean if I accept now? Whereas don't resist is just not resisting in this moment, noticing resistance in you and setting an intention not to. At the moment, for me, this technique is transforming my experience of life right now. But if this speaks to you and you want to go away and try it, do come back and let me know, because I'm assuming there's a universality in how helpful this could be, and I may not be right about that at all. I can only speak from my own experience in this case so far. So until next time, breathe and don't resist.